And we're back. Sorry for the 3-4 month no podcasting and all that stuff. Got not bored, but got lazy and busy, and now we're back. So we got Chasen and Bacon here, and let's just catch up on things. Chasen, you're about to start the off season at Southern Miss, and y'all had a not great season, but y'all ended well. So what's the outlook on transfers and training, and what's the biggest thing y'all are going to try to accomplish these 8 weeks before spring ball, you think?
I think just in the past month or two, especially finish this season, recruiting has been, their number one priority, and they've gone out and, gotten everyone they needed or that they thought they needed for this early signing period. And, shoot, we have between 20 and 30 new guys coming in. Just
new guys
yeah, transfer portal, mid-year guys, high school guys, JUCO, kind of all of it combined, in a lot of positions that we needed. So, I think just onboarding those guys early in the off season right now and going forward into spring ball, we'll probably have an earlier spring ball and get those guys, developed in the system and move forward from there. But, early off season, it's going to be fun. It's almost like our quarter of a new team, coming in. So, there'll be a lot to learn, a lot to teach, and it'll definitely keep me busy in the next couple of weeks.
How much of that, with these kids coming in, I'm sure because LA was the strength coach at South when you were there?
No, he was there after I was there.
But it's still got to be similar type stuff with these kids coming in. You always hear commentators on TV talking, like how high school kids come into college so much more ready to play now at certain positions. Is that the same thing in the weight room? Are you having to teach them? Because, 20 years ago when I was coming out of high school, our weight program was go bench, squat, and deadlift, do 3 sets, add weight. And we did not have a great strength program, but that was what we had. Is that advanced, this is what you do for a living now. How much of that are you having to teach these kids as far as programming and lifting and, what the right things to do are for that?
There's still a huge learning curve in my mind. I'm pretty analytical when it comes to that kind of stuff. These kids are still raw regardless of, where they came from. Even if we get another 4-year transfer in, maybe he's only been in that system 1 or 2 years. So he's just now getting into a groove of whatever they're training there. So, whatever system we're running, we have to totally re-intro him to it. And you can never go over movement patterns enough. And that's one thing I was thinking about on the way over here when he said we were going to podcast is yeah, a lot of people see us do, these wild styles of training or, Olympic lifting or powerlifting or the West Side stuff. It's because we have access to it and we have kind of the mental capacity at this point to process it all and get something from it. I'm not gonna walk a college kid, regardless of experience or talent level, into some of the shit we do. From a benefit, risk to benefit reward ratio type thing. It's scary to put a kid under a bar that's got 200 pounds of band tension regardless, especially when he doesn't have the muscular development to handle it. Even though he may be able to just muscle that shit up, it's still scary. But regardless of their age or experience or even training age, we like to keep it basic for the most part. And, we get to some cool stuff at certain points of the year. But, most of the time it's redefining movement patterns and, letting them test their own limits in certain things that they never knew possible. Once they unlock different levels of strength, they understand everything else so much more. At this point, I'm starting to regress, and I'm a young coach. I'm always going to have these cycles, but at this point, I'm starting to regress as a coach. Is man, yes, the technical model is great, and especially in the weight room for safety reasons. But when it comes to speed training, or when it comes to getting kids faster on the field and stuff, if I've got our star athlete on the field, and yeah, maybe he drags his feet a little bit when he runs a route, but he's one of the leading receivers in the conference. Anything I do at that point, at least running wise, yes, I may be able to help him a tad, but if I mess with him too much, he's going to get slower. He's going to get worse. So when it comes to field stuff, dude, I just want them to go and play football for the most part.
No, yeah, that's like when I was doing my combine training in Atlanta with Chip Smith. He told us that Champ Bailey probably had the worst running form he's ever seen, but was probably the fastest guy he ever saw or coached. So he was like, well, I'm not going to change his form. I'm just going to give him to run faster with shitty form. And he ran faster. He ran like a 4.2 something at the combine, you know. So it's like, if you got it, like, you can't change too much or it completely ruins the athlete. Like, everybody has something that's unique to them when it comes to running, lifting, positions. Like, nobody's going to be perfect, and you have to figure out how to manipulate the system for it to work for them. Because if you completely change somebody's form, like, who knows, he might have ran a 4.4 at the combine if he had perfect running form. But he had shitty running form. He ran 4.29 or something. Yeah. Ridiculous, you know.
Oh, I wasn't even getting that technical as like with running, just like the lifting stuff. You know, like I was just curious at how much that's progressed. You know, coming from your side, like, you know, do you feel like it's truly day one with some of them, or are they, or you know, or some of them coming in with enough experience where you're like, okay, cool, like you've got this part down, let's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, even 8 weeks in, or even in the middle of the summer, sometimes it's regressed back to day one because, man, these kids don't remember like how to tie their shoes in the morning sometimes. I mean, I don't want to make them sound that stupid. Like, they're not stupid. They're very smart individuals. But just that sometimes their lack of awareness, like, we have to check them at the door and say, hey, you know, remember what you did last week. We're coming in this week and we're getting better from what we did. I mean, the evolution of training, like, we still do the same shit everyone's always done. But the way we organize it sometimes changes. And the way we modify things changes, and, you know, but, I mean, it's like even 6 weeks in, sometimes it's back to day one. Wow. Just because, I mean, you know, last year, like when I came in last year, we were dealing with all the COVID stuff, and we literally got kicked out of the weight room for like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. They shut us down for like 2 days, and then they allowed us back, you know, the next week to do everything outside. So it's like, man, once you are forced to take almost 2 weeks off like that, and like, yeah, we took trap bars outside, and, you know, everybody across the country had these same problems. But as soon as you step back foot in the weight room and you have, you know, access to everything that you had access to before, it's back to day one again. And the cycle just repeats itself 2 or 3 times a year, whether it's postseason, whether it's now early off season, even post spring ball. Sometimes we have to roll it back. And then, you know, coming back from almost a month off in May in the summer, you're always fighting father time, and you're always fighting, you know, all these breaks that you have and all these interruptions that you have. So, but I mean, we do try to progress, and we do try to, you know, evolutionize with, you know, the times and with everything that's rolling around too. Yeah. But it's a balancing act. Like, I'm standing on my tippy toes half the time, you know, looking over the edge. So
still
it's hard.
like coaching the 330 class here. Knees out when you squat.
Oh yeah.
Toes face forward.
Yes. Oh.
Speaking of back to day one, Mr. Jeff Bacon, back to day one with your lifting. We're hoping to get you to podium at the Arnold this year, and your wrist started bothering you. So let's see, how are you there? How long has it been bothering you? And kind of like, you know, what you think, where you're going to be at next month with the injury or whatnot.
Yeah, so, you know, a little frustrating coming out of the meet we did in Birmingham in, mid-November. You know, felt great other than missing that last jerk, you know, on that PR clean, which would have made it a PR clean and jerk. So I was working some jerk stuff after that, and man, caught one at like 265. Felt great, you know, just really working, you know, good form, like really driving under the bar, not being lazy, and you know, just kind of getting under, like really trying to drive to that same point underneath every time. And you know, just felt a little something in my wrist as my front foot hit. So it was like, all right, you know, no big deal. Added weight, was ready to go to the next one. Somebody texted me, and I was kind of leaning on the jerk block, you know, well, with this hand like this as I was texting, and then all of a sudden pain just shot through my forearm, and I mean, I almost crumbled. Wade was here, Connor was here, and they both saw me wrapping it up with a floss band, and they came over and they're like, "What's up?" And they started looking at it, and they thought it was, you know, I just kind of inflamed a tendon in there, and you know, so kind of took it easy for about 2 weeks, and it didn't get any better. And I was going to the chiropractor anyway to get my hip worked on. Just, you know, the amount of drive time I spend in that little go-kart for work.
Yeah.
You just sitting that long just takes its toll on your body. So every 4-6 weeks I go in just to have him stretch it out real good. And I had him look at my wrist, and he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Not a tendon thing." He goes, "Pretty sure you jammed the carpal bones in your wrist." So he asked me to go get a brace. He taped it up real good. Taught me how to retape it because it wasn't, anything on your wrist right there between washing your hands, taking a shower, it's just not going to last. So I bought some more tape, bought a wrist brace. He said about 2 weeks, and 2 weeks I could get into a front rack, but it was just very uncomfortable. Anytime my wrist got into that big flexion, just uncomfortable. Even with just a 45-pound bar, didn't feel good. So since then, it's been another 2 weeks because that was right around New Year's. So now we're another 2 weeks after that. So we're looking at 5-6 weeks total that I've just really limited overhead with heavy weight. So test it again tomorrow. It feels as good today as it's felt since. Like even when I used to demonstrate getting into a front rack, I could feel a lot of pressure here, whereas right now I don't. So taking that as a good sign. I would guess at this point the Arnold's going to be out. Yeah. Just not enough time to prep for it. Missing 2, almost 3 weeks of prep work for that. So like to focus on the open between now and then. And you might know, with what I've done now, does that already qualify me, or do I have to do something this year to qualify for the open this year?
No, so you're. As long whatever your numbers are, I'm pretty sure. You're. What were you at the end of the thing? I know everybody was top. The 3 guys that competed were top 10.
Top 10.
I know Ryan was like top 5, but you and Tristan, one was like 7, one was 10.
Mm-hmm.
So all of you guys are qualified in general for everything.
Yeah, well, I didn't know if it had to be in the calendar year.
No. So whenever the meet is, you have a whole year from that meet.
Okay.
And then last year, I think they gave everybody an extra couple months because I didn't compete for a year, but I was qualified for meets. I think because of COVID or whatever.
Gotta be. Okay.
But
I'd love to find something else local between now and we're mid-January. Yeah. The Open's not until December. Yeah. I'd like to find one more time to be on a stage. If we redo ours here again, or if there's somewhere else to go.
Oh yeah,
just to get another good meet in.
I plan on getting another meet here and some powerlifting meets here this spring. But and then you never know if it feels good and you wanted to spend a late fee. They're doing it online too, so you could do it Sunday here, shut the gym down, make sure nobody's here, and have Cody or somebody run the computer and do your stuff for you since I'll be up there. Or actually, I should be coming back Sunday, but I probably won't make it if I come back Sunday. But if you felt good, let's do it at the gym. Yeah,
we'll test it again tomorrow, see how it feels.
Just so you don't, if it bothers you, fly all the way up there. At least if you spend the $150-$70, whatever, at least.
Yeah, then it wouldn't be as
brutal as a hotel and travel and all that crap.
Although it wouldn't be quite as cool as getting to go to the Arnold. Come on.
Yeah,
I was just as pumped to go up there.
Go see all the bodybuilding and the strongman and all that. Yeah, I was gonna I need to text my buddy Bobby. He's gonna be competing. He's been the world's strongest man 2 years in a row, and he's done the Arnold, and he has the American. I don't think it's the world. I think it's the American log clean and press record.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks like he's about 55 and he's younger than me, but he's strong as fuck. He's wide as Damien, but he's about 6 foot.
Is that like Oberst? Dude looks old as can be, but he's not.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's like Eddie Hall just turned 35.
Eddie Hall's only 35?
Yeah, or 34, 35, just had his birthday.
Good gosh.
Yeah.
He looks older than that.
But how here's a question. How do you feel, and it's only been a couple months per se with your wrist, but how is your strength feeling? Because I know with me, with my shoulder issues that I'm having, not being able to front squat or really back squat with a real bar and getting in good positions, my strength definitely went down because of not being able to hold a bar in the front rack. So when I clean, even though my legs still are strong, I feel really weak because I'm in a foreign position.
Yeah.
Or definitely jerking like shit. That's the worst because I can never do it because of my shoulder. So how are you feeling with that?
There's definitely some strength loss. I haven't done a true front squat since I guess before I injured it. That last week of prep. Going with the safety squat bar in that super awkward position where your chin's just wrapped around that massive pad. Those still feel fine. My leg strength is good because I can still squat, with the safety squat bar or with the camber bar. Overhead stuff like snatches. I mean, I hit 205 for 3 power the other day, but they all felt heavy on that one side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's that overhead position. It just doesn't. It's not back yet. But working with the barbell bar, I feel very strong there.
Yeah.
Bench feels good. It's it's weird. It's like when it kicks in, I can definitely tell a difference.
Yeah.
But legs are definitely still there, and anything pulling, I'm good. It's just that
when you bring it all together, you feel weak.
Yeah.
It's weird, right?
Yeah.
It sucks.
And it's and I'm sure there's as much mental in there too, because I haven't been going overhead.
Yeah.
And when I do, I've got a wrist wrap on super tight, so I'm thinking more about it. And that, I mean, anytime in sports, no matter what it is, when you overthink it, that's when you start messing. I mean, like you were talking about with running, you try and fix somebody that's super fast. You try and fix their running. That's what they're thinking about versus, I just run there and get the ball. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel horribly like a big horrible loss, but there's some for sure.
Yeah. All right, and that's good. So, since we haven't done this in 2 months, how about what do you think about the Castro thing? I'm sure everybody's talked about it 2 weeks ago when it came out.
Yeah, man.
And you're in the mix because you go to the games, and you volunteer, so you've probably possibly heard. We haven't talked about this, so maybe you've heard things from people that were in the circle or know people in the circle. But
yeah,
I have my thoughts on why. I don't know.
I mean, I definitely have my thoughts on why. I hope at some point we find out something close to the truth. I don't know if we'll ever get the full story.
Yeah.
It's such a mixed bag. Dave loved playing that villain role.
Yeah.
And, it drove me nuts the way he would pause for effect. It's like, dude, just announce the workout.
Yeah.
Come on, man. And then the year he showed up at the games with cornrows, I'm like, come on, dude. But, programming wise for CrossFit, the man's, genius. Some of that stuff he can come up with that looks so simple, but when you do it, I mean, it just bends you over and breaks you in half.
Yeah.
And some of it had to be expected, anytime, new management comes in, very common, clean house because you want your own people.
Yeah.
There's a reason why new management had to come in because things were wrong. Even if it was a great person, something wasn't right. So you figure out what you have to keep for now, and then, and he can be a little abrasive. So, be willing to bet he, said or did or acted in some way that, didn't mesh with corporate world. And that was kind of CrossFit's identity for so long. It's like, no. We're not a gym. We're a box.
Yeah.
We don't work out. We train. You know what I mean? They were trying to go against so much for so long. And he was sort of in Greg's circle, and Coach Glassman definitely liked to be abrasive, and he kind of embraced that.
Yeah.
And I think Dave did too, and just when it gets to the games, did I ever expect Dave Castro to be fired from the CrossFit Games? No. I figured he would find his time to step away,
or he'd be moved to a different position. Or just not straight up fired.
Yeah, I did not expect him to just be fired like that. And having worked at regionals and the games, I did 2 years of both so far. And if Castro shows up and he sees you, unless he is beelining to get somewhere because something's about to start and he's he doesn't have time, he's walking through and he's saying hello and he stops and he talks.
Yeah.
And he's very appreciative of volunteers and the people that help make the events go off. I mean, just really, really is. He is a great guy in that regard. So I have nothing but good things to say about him there. But from what I've heard, he had his hand in a little bit of everything when it came. I mean, the games came from him. He's the one that took it to Greg and was like, hey, my parents have this cool ranch. I want to throw a backyard barbecue and let's crown the fittest CrossFitter.
Yeah.
I mean, it was literally his baby. And so from every year, as more and more stuff, as it grew and got bigger and bigger, he was a part of it. And good luck trying to find somebody to replace him.
Yeah.
One person can't do. I don't think one person can do that job anymore and still grow it. Not to mention, I mean, it's what somebody's going to face in Tuscaloosa in a couple of years. It's what somebody's going to face in Clemson. trying to replace the man is going to be really hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're going to be scrutinized, especially this year. Whoever, I think the smartest thing CrossFit Inc. could do is not announce who's programming, because it's
CrossFit is programming.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, just CrossFit.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's going to be picked apart. Whether it's the best programming we've ever seen, or it's not. And you could go back and look at the programming from year to year under Dave. Some years it was fantastic, and some years there's like, eh. And there's always one or two WODs you're like, oh man, I wish they would have done it like this or like that.
That was like the year I competed. It was like, what are we doing? Why do we have?
Was that the no barbells year?
Yeah, it was terrible. I was like, dude, this is the year I could have went to the games.
The one year Jake wanted. That was hilarious. That was like your strength, and it was like Samson getting his hair cut off.
Yeah, it was like the one year I was like, all right, I got through the open, like I can make it to the games. It's like there's no fucking barbells. Yeah. What are we doing? It's like like worms and dumb shit.
Worms and then those giant kettlebells. I worked. That was the first year I worked regionals.
Terrible.
Yeah, not his. I worked.
Oh no, and then like the open.
I worked the Nashville.
In the open, there was like no bar. It was all dumbbells and stuff. I was like, what are we doing? This is like that was the year before. It was all dumbbells. The following year had a couple. What are we doing?
Well, it was stupid dumbbell stuff too, like just off the wall dumbbell shit.
It was
like no one wanted to do it.
No, it was awful. But yeah, they're gonna have to figure that out. I don't know. I think what I think happened was, I think because he ruffled feathers because that's his personality. But like a week before, he had posted a picture hanging out with Glassman, and I think that pissed off. That probably is not like I don't really care, but how everything now is so political, and a lot of corporations are so far left, so they don't piss people off. That I think that probably.
I definitely don't think that helped him out. Because if you read his post, Rosa called him and was like, "Hey, we've got wording prepared that says this is mutual." And he's like, "Don't post that because it's not."
Yeah.
But I'd be willing to bet that definitely.
Here you go. What is
had something to do with it?
So is Rogue gonna get Castro, and are they gonna shut the CrossFit Games, put him out? Is that what's gonna happen?
If the Rogue Iron Games picked up Dave Castro, it's already a better payout,
better competition, because it's small, like it's big, but
it's invitation.
It's invitation, but it's condensed, like the playing surface, the competition surface. It's like it's not this giant. It's a big event, but it's like boom. It's like in one area, have a couple fields, they do stuff, but it's like real CrossFit. Not that it's not. But there's not like a marathon, not the crazy stuff that people really don't care about. It's the fun.
But that's the if you look at the CrossFit season, it's the open is testing your engine.
Yeah.
And then back when there were regionals, before they took away the barbells, sorry, Jay.
Testing your strength.
It was testing. Yeah, hey, you've got an engine. Now let's see, can you move this weight around? If you go back and look at the old regionals, it was always strength based regional stuff, and then the games was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Right?
It was always, like you always had staples, and that's what we were talking about last week is like whoever does, like if Rogue takes over the whole thing or like because they're starting to be way more inclusive now. Yeah. And that's just the ebbs and flows of business too. Like CrossFit got huge and then they got too specific and now they're losing people. And then Rogue's going to come and take in everybody, But we were saying last week is like, man, if CrossFit had yes, they have staple workouts, but if every year they said, hey, you're going to have I don't know when you're going to have these 5 staple workouts and every year you're going to be tested on them. And then it doesn't we're not going to tell you the order. We're not going to tell you what other events you might have that day, but just know you got to train for these 5 and then you got to be ready for whatever else we throw at you too. Like some sort of organization to where, the people can come in and specialize at, their 2 events that they want to win or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
we were talking about how, say, for instance, you're at the games, you finish the marathon, and then all of a sudden, sorry, now you got Fran. As soon as you cross the finish line, you have Fran. Fran starts now, and they don't know about it till they finish the event or the event 5 minutes before the event starts, right?
Yep.
But you have those staple events, and that also gets the fans, the crowd, the people watching a little more entertained because it's like, oh, we do these every day. We do this once a year, these events. Like, we know how much it sucks. I can only imagine how much it would suck after a marathon swim. Then you have to go do Fran immediately out of the pool.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that got in the way sometimes is like they try. There were some years I think they got too cute.
Yeah.
It's like, man, just test them.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be overly cute. Doesn't have to be, and they're trying to figure out a way for it to look good on TV to try and grow the sport. And that's a challenge too. I mean, if you were going to do the best fitness test, it probably wouldn't be the funnest thing to watch on TV to anybody that's not like totally gung-ho CrossFitter.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge. Like you've got to try and grow it. But I mean, the problem too is they grew it. 2018 was the most successful year they've ever had, probably the best programming they've ever had. And then that was the year it fell. The next year it fell apart in 2019 because Coach Glassman didn't care about the games.
Yeah.
His whole thing was fighting, Big Sugar and Coke
Obesity,
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic because if it wasn't for CrossFit, and I think part of the reason why it's dwindled a little bit, if it wasn't for CrossFit, there wouldn't be a 45. Fit body boot camps wouldn't be as big as they are.
Yeah.
Boot camps in general probably wouldn't be. I mean, there were boot camps before CrossFit.
Well, like box gyms, Olympic weightlifting, those type of things. This gym.
None of that stuff would be around. You know what I mean? Strongman would not be as big as it is to the masses. The people that did strongman would, and they'd be the one or two guys in the back of Gold's gym training by themselves. Olympic lifting definitely wouldn't be. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much that can be attributed to CrossFit in the games. And for a sport to grow, you've got to some change is good. You know, so I think overall, it can be a very good thing. This year's very interesting, and the timing of it, like right before the Open, I thought was really weird.
Yeah,
that they were going to fire him right before
they do the Open. Yeah. Well, speaking of CrossFit and contributing everything, did CrossFit contribute to Georgia whooping that ass a couple weeks ago, Bacon?
I knew that was coming. Hey, we made it. The boys played well. We had chances to win. Didn't capitalize.
No, hold on. You're saying we, like you played on the team.
Oh, I'm one of those Alabama fans.
Did we miss something here?
I'm one of those Alabama fans. I mean, I was born there. I was born in Tuscaloosa.
Sorry, you were born in Nick Saban's house. That's right.
So here we go. So here's the biggest thing, and I think you can agree. Well, we'll get your opinion. I mean, I think the game was good. I think Georgia came this time to play.
Yes.
Last time I think they were shell shocked because they looked like a different team. SEC championship.
I honestly think they felt like they were going to. I think they got a little cocky.
Yeah.
The season they had. The season Bama had, they played a couple really bad games. They lost a game to Texas A&M.
And Georgia,
I mean, they got destroyed by Texas
How many
A&M.
shutouts Georgia have? Probably 3. They gave up maybe 10 points a game. Like,
if even I thought, weren't they averaging like 8?
Yeah,
like giving up 8 points
crazy.
or something. It was nuts. I think they expected to walk on the field and just beat Bama.
Dude, it may have been a thing too of like Georgia's still like they were still defending an undefeated record. Mm-hmm. Like Alabama already busted their bubble. So like the rest of the season, Alabama's acting like almost like they're a 0-win team. You know, like, oh, we've already screwed up our perfect season. Like we're gonna go just ball on everybody now. Yeah. Georgia's still defending something in the SEC championship. Yeah. And by the time the national championship came around, Georgia popped that bubble too, and it was like, oh, we're about to go hit these kids.
Playing not to lose versus playing to win.
Well, like here you go too. Here's a question for you, since you're an Alabama fan, and like don't know your opinion on it, but when two of the best teams in the country play each other, it's gonna be like a 0-0, 14-4. Like there's not gonna be many plays, and if plays happen, they're somebody busted like one play, and that's what I mean. The whole game was what field goal. Then Alabama busted. Mm-hmm. They got a touchdown. They threw an interception at the end. And that's the only reason it looked like it was 28-14, 28-13, or whatever the score was, right?
Yeah.
But you have these Alabama fans who want to, fuck our DC, fuck the offensive coordinator. They're terrible. You may not like their play calling, but at the same time, had a bunch of freshmen and sophomores playing. You literally are playing against the best defense in the country, and you're in the national championship, and you're mad that you can't score, but your defense is playing so good. But fuck the defense coordinator. He sucks because we lost. Like, you had how many field goals? Like, you gave up how many until the end of the game. You know what I mean? So that's what gets me with, like, college football fans. They have no idea what goes into it.
Yeah.
They just want to fuck the offense coordinator, fuck defensive coordinator. But, like, dude, you're in the national championship. Like, you're really mad. You won it last year. The DC, I'm pretty sure, won the Burroughs Award last year. And, like, now you want to fire him because you have sophomores playing. Like, your sophomore, the best defense player on your team was a sophomore.
Yeah,
like
Will Anderson's a beast.
And the other defense, outside linebacker defense lineman, he was a freshman. No, not him. Like 15, he got hurt beginning of the season.
Yeah, that's right.
He was a freshman. And then you had like a true freshman playing cornerback.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fuck the defensive coordinator.
And that's the one they kept picking on too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now there are some folks that have not liked Pete Golding for several years.
Yeah.
You know, and I kind of come and go because, you know, some games my frustration with the coordinators is some games we play great, lights out football, and then there's the LSU game that we just like. It's like, did we even like practice that week? The Texas A&M game. How do we not know how fast that one guy was?
Yeah.
You know, and granted, in Texas A&M's quarterback had the game of his life. He basically played a perfect first half, and that's what it took to beat us on that day. My biggest frustration this year was definitely with Bill O'Brien. His play calling was god awful. It was very predictable. You know, we couldn't run the ball to save our lives. We had a great running back in Brian Robinson. Couldn't run the ball to save our lives. It's like, you know, when's the last time you saw an Alabama team, you know, not coached by Mike Shula, that couldn't score points? And that's what it felt like so much. You know, it was the play calling. I'm not a fan of Bill O'Brien.
Yeah.
As a play caller. So, you know, I for one hope he is gone next year.
Yeah.
I think he will be because I think he's a part of that, you know, rehab program that Coach Saban runs.
But here you go. So, like, you know, I know you sound like Bill O'Brien, but your quarterback won the Heisman this year.
Quarterback won
So I mean, it's like how, like, you know what I'm saying? That's my thing with the people who are mad is like your quarterback won the Heisman.
No, my frustration is it was, you know, really after that A&M game, I felt like the talent of the players, it felt like, because, you know, Will Anderson, you know, made a great speech after the game. Yeah. And from that point on, I mean, that's when he started playing lights out football.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it was more the overwhelming talent of what Saban's true gift is to college football and coaching is recruiting.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think he's a good X's and O's guy. He's a great manager of staffs, you know, because, I mean, his biggest challenge is he's had to turn – I mean, how many defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators has he had in his, 10, 12 years at Alabama?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's got to be challenging to every year. You know, coordinator's going to bring in their language.
Yeah.
You know, their play calling, what they call – you know what I mean? That's got to be tough to manage to stay at a high level because Alabama fans, we expect a lot from the team. Yeah. I try not to be one of those that's like, we're supposed to go to the national championship game. You know, you look at how we recruit. Should we compete for it? Yeah, we should compete in the SEC, and if you win the SEC, you should be in the top 4. Yeah. To get to go, you know, to at least be in that playoff. You know, and so my expectation is high in that regard. Yeah. But I try not to be delusional, like, oh yeah, we're already the best. Okay, fine. Then just award it. Don't play the season. Just go ahead and give us a trophy.
Well,
you know, and that's just stupid. You can't think that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing with them this year, because I had to watch the games because of Victoria. I don't really care about watching football games,
which is still just funny to me. The level that you played at, and you're like, I don't really care about football.
I think the biggest issue was the offensive line. I don't know if it was the personnel or if it was
Young and then some injuries
or who was playing in which positions. I don't think they've ever figured that out of the right player in the right spot. Like maybe the 5 were the right guys, but they weren't in the correct positions.
I think the one time we had it figured out was the Georgia game,
the first Georgia game.
Yeah, the SEC title game, but then the guys, the whole right both right side guys, got injured in the game, and so then in the national title game, we weren't even back to those 5, which weren't even the starters at the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I don't want to make that excuse. I know I said it at your house, but I mean I think it ended up being like 11 guys that started game 1. Yeah, were injured for the national championship game. Yeah, you know, and I'm not saying that to be the typical fan making an excuse. Yeah, but I mean our best 2 offensive weapons for the year were not on the field. Well, one was on the field for close to a half.
Yeah, and he blew his
and then he blew his knee out. You know, Mechie was our possession receiver, and Bryce Young's outlet every time. You know, Jameson Williams was so electric with his speed, but 9 times out of 10 the ball's going to Mechie, and he had great hands. Yeah, you know, we still had chances after Williams got hurt. They just weren't catching the ball. Yeah, no. You know, and talent, but they're freshmen getting thrown into a game. I don't care how good you were in high school.
Yeah, you don't.
Different level. Yeah, different level, different speed. You know, I went to high school with Chris Samuels, who played at Alabama. Yeah. You know, inducted in. He's not in the Hall of Fame, but he's in the Ring of Honor for Washington.
Yeah.
And he won the Outland at Alabama. When he came back, after his first year playing, because he got redshirted and then he played. And I remember asking him, I was like, what's the biggest difference? He goes, that one guy you're waiting for all season because he's going to be the best guy you play. He goes, that's every week and every guy on the line. He's like, the speed of the game is so much faster at the next level.
Yeah.
He's like, everybody's that good.
Well, and that's what I was telling. Well, say what you were going to say because I know you're going to say something.
Go ahead.
Just the injuries. It blows my mind because they obviously Alabama has top tier everything and they have a new strength and conditioning program and everything and you can't ever blame one person and you really can't blame anything on injuries and that's the thing that frustrates me so much is people even with the coordinator deal I'm sure Bill O'Brien is not a bad coordinator no one is a bad coordinator but do you realize the amount of pressure they're under not only being in the college football playoff but with the job circulations that have happened the past 2 years and the cutthroat business it's turning into, that all plays a factor into the stress going in on the coaches' lives as well. Their ability to coach a game and call a game is just as important as the player's ability to execute the play and play the game as well. So, dude, you can't ever and now we know this stress is stress and with athletes and I think it's with coaches too. Man, the biggest thing is you look at coaches nowadays and just how they're built, how they operate is dude, they work 16-hour days and they work their ass off recruiting, but they have bad bodies. They don't take care of themselves. They're so worried about everything else that, man, I promise you, if you took 30 minutes a day to take care of yourself, you might be a better person to work for. You might, but you can't because it's so cutthroat. So it's just its own monster. Even with the CrossFit Games we were talking about, every business is turning into its own monster, and it's so crazy to see it fall in line,
Yeah.
Let me ask you, so name, image, likeness. You think that comes into play at all? Coaches not being careful about overplaying certain people or, because what do you hear in professional sports? Sometimes the guys just don't want to play or they've given up.
Yeah.
I already got my check. I'm good. That running back gets that.
Well,
they get their rookie deal and then they get their big contract. And all of a sudden it goes down.
Well,
right?
I think that's going to happen now with college. I think they're going to get rid of that. There's no way that's going to last another couple of years.
They've got to revise it. They've got to do something.
Because Texas A&M paid out $30 million for a recruiting class in 1 year.
Was that rumor or was that confirmed?
That's real.
Yeah,
and they sign contracts to where it's every year they get paid. So, say they dip out, they don't get all the money. It's a year.
That's ridiculous. Even me on the college front, and I'm at a smaller school, so we're not huge in NIL, and maybe it is taking effect at bigger schools, but, man, the coaches, aren't worried about it, especially in its infancy. In 10 years, it'll be a problem if they keep it around long enough. But, I'm sure the coaches aren't worried about it this year. I really don't think it plays that much of a factor. In recruiting, probably. Yeah. But in actual playing and, how everything's playing out, I don't think the coaches care at all. I think truly they care about winning.
Calling, trying to get guys enough touches.
Probably.
The transfer portal, does that, or maybe more
yes.
the stress that weighs in on.
And, I don't know how many kids have transferred out of Alabama in the past 10 years, each year. What's the average?
Yeah.
But usually that goes under the radar and no one hears about it and they're transferring out because of discipline reasons or something. They just can't get on board. But, how many kids have entered the portal or declared early this year from Alabama or what? I think it's more noticeable this year, even in a program as big as that.
Yeah.
And if you look at the stats on the portal, do you ever get on Twitter and check it? Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I think they need to revise both. I think they need to get rid of NIL or do something. It's ridiculous what you can pay somebody because schools are now.
It's still Wild Wild West, right?
Well, I mean, you can do whatever you want because, say, the guy that owns Yellowwood in Alabama, was he Auburn guy or an Alabama guy? I think he's an Auburn guy.
I think he's an Auburn guy.
So,
he supports both because it's the state, but he's an Auburn guy.
Could pay a kid so much money to go to Auburn. And, there's nothing they can do about it because they create, a little LLC, pays his taxes. It is what it is. So they need to revise it because it's ridiculous that these kids are making – I mean, good for them. But, but it's going to get to the point to where they're making more money than the coaches. and they're in college. Like, just think about that. You're going to have kids making more money than every coach besides maybe the head coach, but possibly more than the head coach.
And they're not going to be able to unionize because the NFL has, like, I mean, NFL is still messed up. Like, it's still stratified because the players get paid millions of dollars, and, like, even string coaches in the NFL, like, they get paid $100,000 maybe. You know, some of the better ones get $200,000 or whatever it is. But, like, if I'm getting paid $100,000 as a shrink coach or as a position coach or anything, and the kid I'm coaching is making well over $1 million, how do I coach that? I don't want to coach you, man. Like, you're getting paid more than I am,
and
like,
I'm your boss.
Yeah.
Like, no, but it's like,
It's an 18-year-old kid.
But it's like also
out of his parents.
It's
what it.
It's just I don't even know. It's just crazy that they're getting that amount of money to play a game, which is great. Get paid, but what's going to happen when they make all this money in college and they go to NFL and their NFL contracts? Was the NFL going to change their structure of paying people? Because they're going to have to increase payments. They're going to have to change the cap. Because if all these kids making millions of dollars in college, they're going to expect tens of millions of dollars going into the NFL. So just think about, think of like Bryce Young. Say by the time he leaves Alabama, he's made $15 million in 3 years. He goes, signs with whoever in the NFL. Say he's a first-round pick, and he his first year he makes like $3 million. Like, because the money's not guaranteed like it used to be. It's never guaranteed in the NFL. You don't make the big money like you used to until you're like your second contract.
Yeah, your second deal is.
So they're gonna have to like double rookie.
Yeah, they're
like
gonna have to change stuff. And then like the transfer portal thing, like I'm all about kids transferring. I transferred because you get fucked over. Trust me, I've been there, done that, been fucked. But there has to be a limit on how you can like. I believe you should be able to transfer one time. Now,
that's what it is. Like, there's a lot of rules to it.
Is there?
Like, yeah.
Because it just seems like I've seen these people transfer.
Now you can go like a 4-year, 2-year, 4-year. You can't like. It's really hard, and people have done it. And I don't know how you get around it, but you can go 4-4-4 somehow.
There's always a loophole, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Like if you have the right lawyer.
Well, here's
or
the
whatever.
thing: the loophole, like you should be able to transfer one. I don't know all the rules, but you should be able to transfer one time, scot-free. Get a scholarship, do what you want.
Yeah, play next year.
Play next year, and then like if you graduate, I get that. Like keep that in there, but all the medical stuff, like I'm like, take that away. Like I'm sorry if your mom and dad are sick or grandma. Like I get that, but you have the opportunity to transfer one time. Like you can't transfer multiple times because then you're just jumping around because you don't like a coach, you don't like a team, you don't like this. Like if you get fucked, you get fucked. But like the dude, I don't even know if he's playing right now in Nevada, the Tate Marshall guy. He's transferred like five. He's transferred like 5 fucking times.
And I don't know how that's happened. Like, there's people that slip through the loop, and there's people just move around.
Yeah.
Like, it happens. Yeah. Like, dude, I knew a kid that played at South. He went to 4 different high schools, like each year. And I think his last high school, or maybe his junior year, he was at IMG, which is like whatever. But he went to Notre Dame, then South Alabama, and then like some like D1 AA, and then like came back to LNA, like Alabama A&M. So like the dude went to 8 schools in 8 years. That's insane.
Yeah, like I think let a kid be, because the coaches can transfer and get fired and do what they want. So like you should be able to. It's just like the loopholes are crazy. NLI and whatever, the money's crazy. I mean, just think like you're 17 years old. There's kids who are opting out of their senior year of high school football now to make money. Yeah, like,
and you'll never get that opportunity again. Yeah. You get to be a kid once. You get to be a senior in high school once. I wouldn't trade my senior year of high school football for just about anything.
Well, like
that year with those guys that I had played football with for 4 years. I mean I see those pictures. I see my jacket. Like those memories are still vivid. 20 plus years later. And you don't get that. I remember when back to CrossFit when it started getting bigger and like the up and comer kids, they were giving up their senior year of high school football to concentrate on CrossFit to hopefully make the CrossFit Games in 5 years.
Yeah.
And I remember like somebody asked running about it, it's the dumbest thing you can do: play sports, because there's going to come a point in time where you don't get to play sports anymore. You know what I mean? Like then it's beer league. It's only for fun. Like, play sports while you can. Be a kid while you can. And that's the biggest thing I don't like about NIL is it's making it more of a business. And that's what I like. That's what I loved about college football is it wasn't a business. It felt more passionate.
Yeah.
The players wanted to be there. The coaches wanted to be there because they wanted to take this raw talent and turn it into something. And then when it went to the NFL, okay, cool, then that's a business. Every bit of that is a business. It's a business for the players, for the coaches, for the owners, everything. Like, fine.
Yeah.
You know? And then I worry with the NIL too, like, how does that affect the locker room? Because it's not like in the NFL, at least every player is getting played. So if you're the best offensive lineman on that team, okay, you're the top guy in that room.
And everybody understands that.
And and gets it. But in college, the best offense, Evan Neal at Alabama probably didn't get any NIL money this year or not enough to brag about. Whereas supposedly Bryce Young got 6 figures.
Yeah.
Well, that's got to affect the team in some way. It's got to affect the locker room, right? I mean, you guys played that level. I know it would have affected my high school team. Would it have affected?
I want to know. I mean, I want to know like what those guys feel like. You know, you have millionaires on your team, and you have other kids who are struggling. I mean, you still get money to live off of, but you know, like you're still like, fuck, like god dang, I got to pay my rent, and like only have $700 in my account, and this dude in the room with me is a millionaire. Like
they came with like a couple pairs of shoes and some shirts, right? And then they're kids that come from wealth and they don't want, right? Yeah. So I mean, there's always a little bit of that, but I mean, you're asking an 18, 19-year-old kid to handle all of a sudden having hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars responsibly.
That's like you roll up to the parking lot and like in your, I drove my beater Del Sol and then the person rolls up next to me in like a fucking Ferrari. Like who the fuck cares? Like what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like this is crazy. But,
yeah, I worry about it tearing apart the locker room and ruining that. I mean, that's the one sport I really, really love to watch on Saturday. Yeah. It's college football. You know what I mean? I would turn on the NFL to have background noise.
Yeah.
But I love college football.
For
it's
sure.
Fun. And now it's not as much fun.
Yeah. I don't understand it. And, like, I think a lot of coaches who are in the game right now don't understand it because they're just head down working. But, these are questions that other people have a lot of the times. And maybe I'll keep you guys posted if anything changes. But our small school, like, nothing, like one kid has a deal.
But here's the thing. Like, what if, like, a kid at a small – like, you have, like, a 4-star or 5-star guy who's from Mobile or he's from, Hattiesburg, and, like, one of those big donors owns a business in town and is like, fuck it, we're going to give you $1 million to stay here. And they stay there, and that kid's making $1 million, and he's at Southern Miss. And, like, everybody else is, like, maybe getting free lunch from the fucking Hardee's downtown. They're like, for the NIL deal. Like, well, like, that's got to, like, it's weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not going to mesh well with.
That's what I'm saying. I worry about
that affecting
the locker room. And it will, right?
And that's where it comes to, like, dude, if it gets that bad,
they have
like, what's the point in having a strength coach?
Yeah.
When, like, all your starters on offense are making, 6 figures, and I'm not even making 6 figures. Like, why do I need to go to work?
Yeah.
Why don't I just, like, excommunicate myself from the team specifically and become a private trainer and get them to fund my own operation, and then I train them, and they don't have to show up to workouts.
Yeah.
I was about to say that. What happens when it's this kid that's been groomed?
Yeah.
For however long, right? And they show up. Let's say Southern Miss lands him, and he rolls in. He's like, "Yeah, I've got my own guy. Like, I'm just here to check the box."
It happens. I can't tell you when, where, how, or why.
Yeah, don't get yourself
but it's going on now. Like, but there's ways around it. Not at our place. But dude, like, that's what I hope, like, by God, I hope NIL works out and I can do that. Because then I go to work. Then I'll go to work for 2 hours a day. I'll train him for 2 hours and maybe, like, I'll give my massage license and massage him down and, like, do 10 guys a day or whatever. Yeah. Like, the dudes who can afford it. Hey, if you can afford it, come to me. Like, why do I work for the university at that point? Yeah. And then
you don't have any of those other responsibilities.
And then
But then you look at the trainers too, who make even less money than you.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, why are they like, fuck this? Like, I'm not gonna make $30,000 a year to hang out with these prima donnas.
Oh, dude! And if it ever got that big, and I could, like, I could make 6 figures just working for 10 guys on the team, I'll go get my athletic training license and do both.
Yeah,
I don't care. Like,
and you'll have the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have to train anyone else in my gym. I could literally have something like this, and have 5 people that I train out of it.
Yeah.
You know, and just own whatever I want. But I mean, it'll never get that big, or people will never figure it out or be that smart. But that would be super cool.
Yeah. But
it's going to. And you said that the first time we talked about it on the podcast. Is you think that's partially what some of the folks that put it in place want? Is like,
I think,
we told you it wasn't going to work. Look what happened.
Well, and it used to be black and white. A person either gets paid and gets, loses eligibility, or they do it the right way. Now there's so much gray area. Where's the line now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you know if it's legit or if it's, from a booster?
Well, they're all
like,
from
what's
boosters.
the difference between a booster and like someone who's doing an NIL? Like, where's the line?
I mean, people doing NIL are boosters.
Yeah, I mean,
nobody's going to do it. Nobody's going to do it just because I got so much money.
But then
let me just give some away.
Why did they call it NIL? Why didn't they just say, hey, if you're a booster for the school and you want to pay this kid, pay this kid? Like, why weren't they just black and white about it and say, hey, we're gonna create this thing where every school can make a money pool for their team? Like, why didn't they organize it like that? They'll have to go back.
Because that's how it should have been.
They'll have to go back and say, here's a money pool. If you want to donate to the team, you can donate to the team.
And then we split it up.
Yeah.
Starters get this much.
Yeah.
Special teams guys get
and
this.
then there's an incentive for you to be a starter.
Yeah. There's that much more. Yeah. To try and get on the field.
Yeah. Well.
And I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Something like that would be fair, and maybe that's what they thought this would turn into. But it's right now in its infancy. It's a shit show.
Yeah. It's great. I don't think they. I mean, maybe they thought. I think they knew it was gonna get shitty, and so they can take it away and show everybody, hey, you can't pay these athletes.
Yeah, maybe it's an experiment. Maybe it's a big experiment.
I think there's definitely some truth to what he's saying.
Yeah.
Because because what are they? If it gets too crazy, what are they gonna do? Just they said, like Cody said, he read Archie Manning is supposed to get $10 million the day he graduates college. Like $10 million.
Yeah. And that's something I would fight for if I was a big say they put a limit or whatever. I'd say, hey, pay my rent and pay for my groceries. Like, I don't care if I make any money off the top in college, but it's the day I graduate college, if I'm still as good, which that's a big promise to make, but if I'm still as good as like when I came in and I did everything I'm supposed to do and I'm going to the league, like, I want $100 million as soon as I get out.
Yeah.
It's
wild. But well, let's leave it there today.
What are we gonna talk about? Your injury?
Oh, my shoulder, my shitty. Yeah. So
because we got your update because you haven't been. You kind of hinted at it. You haven't been going overhead in almost a year.
No. So yeah, I'm supposed to have labrum surgery last Thursday, but I have really shitty insurance and they denied it. So I had to get expensive insurance, which is gonna pay for majority of it. But it's not till 2 weeks from now, and I was hoping to get it last week, so then potentially be able to compete at nationals, even if I'm not where I would want to be, but just to compete at a national level without pain again.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's C-session, like, I don't give a fuck. Like, just compete, see where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
But then this is pushing another 2.5 weeks. It's like, it's already like a 4-month be cleared to do stuff, and I was going to push it a little harder, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll keep you updated on that because I'll be putting out videos and all that shit with rehab and surgery. So
yeah, how long are you gonna be out from here? Like, as far as like what's initial recovery to get back to work?
So if I get it done Tuesday the 1st, which is where it's supposed to be scheduled, I believe Tuesday or Thursday, but I think it's the Tuesday. I'll be out the rest of the week. I'll have a pain pump in for the whole week, and I should be back Monday. They don't give me any narcotics. They just give me a pain pump and some like Tramadol. What's the pills they used to give us in college that didn't do shit? Tramadols. Yeah, they don't do anything. Yeah. Like, they would give us Tramadols. It doesn't do anything, right? So they give you Tramadols, but I don't know. We'll see, and then just go from there and start rehab a week later, and hopefully be snatching again by May. Yeah, snatching again, going overhead again, and see where I'm at. Be able to lift again without pain. So.
Good luck, man.
I appreciate it. Well, we'll leave it there this week. Remember, like, subscribe, download the podcast, follow the YouTube channel, do all that good stuff. Remember, stay savage, not average.